Going to start with a roll call. Rick Pisano,
Present.
Mark Robinson,
You're on
Present.
mute, Mark.
Present.
Penny Levert.
Penny, you're on mute.
Penny, you're
I
muted.
just. You got me now?
Got you now.
Okay.
All right. Amy Cates.
Here, present. I'll figure out my video. Okay. I don't know what I did. Start video. Okay, I'm good. I'm
So-
good. Nope. I'm back.
So does anybody have a burning desire to be the chair of this committee?
Okay.
Did
Okay.
Penny say she would?
No, I said Fran Parks could.
Oh, did you say? Fran Parks could.
Okay, all right. So our
Second
job
her
is
nomination.
our job is to review the bylaws and see if we think there are any corrections or additions that need to be made. So I think the way to do this is just to start reading. And
Fran,
yeah.
could I have a couple of questions?
yes,
How do we know that these are the most recent copy?
did you get it off the? Because on the front page, it says November 19th, 2019.
Okay, and would the copy that was on the Katuitt Fire District website, would that be a previous version?
No,
No. All right. And because I was looking at the website recently, in preparation for this meeting, so last week, not this week, and I thought that it was a different version, but maybe not. When we were these recent updates filed with the state?
yes,
Okay, and do you know the May and November 2019 meetings? So one must have been an annual meeting and the other one was probably a special district meeting. Do
correct.
you have a recollection of what it is we changed?
I believe that was changing the stabilization fund for the water committee.
Oh, stabilization, that makes sense, that would have been the special district. And at the annual meeting that year in May of 2019, do you have a recollection of
I
what
believe
we?
that's the same thing and it had to be updated.
Okay, all right, so you think it was both concerning the water department stabilization? Okay, thanks, Fran.
Okay. Section 1, the officers of the Katuitt Fire District shall consist of a moderator, a prudential committee of 3 members, a 3-member board of water commissioners, and a 3-member board of fire commissioners, a clerk and a treasurer. Section 2, 1 member of the prudential committee, 1 member of the board of water commissioners, and 1 member of the board of fire commissioners shall be elected annually. The moderator shall be elected every 3 years. All officers of the district shall serve for 3 years or until their successors are chosen and qualified. Section 3, the clerk and treasurer shall be appointed by the Prudential Committee in accordance with provisions of Chapter 328 of the Acts of 1926 as amended. The term of office for the officers of the district shall commence at the close of the annual meeting. Vacancies in any district office except moderator may be filled by voting by ballot at a special election called for that purpose, or a vacancy may be temporarily filled by appointment by a majority vote of the Prudential Committee. The appointee to serve until the next annual election, when candidates for the unexpired portion of the term of that office may be eligible for election in accordance with the Massachusetts general laws. Section 6. Elected officials of the district shall not be eligible for appointment to positions as salaried employees of the district, nor shall any member of the immediate family of an elected official be eligible for such appointment when a conflict of interest would exist. Section 7, any candidate for a district office must be a resident of the Katuitt Fire District. Article 2,
Fran?
Yes.
Can we stop for a question or a
Sure.
comment? Section 7 of Article 1 says any candidate for district office must be a resident of the district.
correct.
And I'm just wondering if that could be broadened to be taxpayers and or residents. You know, we are a seasonal place. There's an awful lot of talent amongst the taxpayers that may not be full-time residents. And has that ever been discussed before?
I believe it has been discussed before. Seasonal residents are allowed to come to the annual meeting. They're actually requested and preferred that they come, and they're allowed to speak. But because they're not registered to vote in Massachusetts, in the town of Barnstable, then therefore they're not eligible to vote in the district meeting, the district election.
So they're not eligible to vote, but could they be on a committee?
I don't believe so.
Well, I mean, could we change that to allow them to serve on a committee?
Well, if they're a seasonal resident, then they won't be here for a period of time. And if they're a seasonal resident and they're where they live is Florida, they have to be there half of the year.
Mark, they really wouldn't have skin in the game.
Well, I mean, we've seen a lot more people living here longer than just the summer now. I mean, we're seeing, my neighbors were here all from November into January this year, first time ever. So, I mean, I don't know, I just, would there be a harm if it was broadened? I'm saying they don't have skin in the game. Obviously, they have skin in the game. They're paying water bills, they're paying district taxes. They obviously have skin in the game.
Rick?
Just that not all of the seasonal residents go out of state. There are many more people now that live in the metropolitan Boston area with second homes down here that they frequent quite a bit. I have one neighbor that's down here probably, 15 days a month, but has a primary home and works in the metro area. So there are people who would be much more regularly available, and given the kind of adaptation to remote meeting that we've done, I think that it's an interesting question to pose in terms of getting a broader array of input.
You know, I mean, I was a summer kid for a long time, but my parents came down every weekend from Needham, and the whole summer, probably another 20 weekends through the course of the year. I mean, I spent a lot of time here. And I just think there are people who are like that still, and now even more so with COVID, but COVID won't be here forever, I'm sure. But I think we're going to see a lot more of these hybrid meetings with remote and in person, hopefully.
Well,
soon.
if you look at this committee, look at the people that are on this screen, that probably 5 out of the 6 of us are retirement age. And so, so probably these people, if they retire here, then they would have an interest, they would have had business expertise, or some kind of work experience, and they would bring a lot to the table and would be very valuable members of any committee. And so maybe then, I mean, just look at us. We're all retirement age or so, and still have a lot to give, a lot to say, care a lot. So maybe that's the motivating factor for these people.
Well, I can run it by Mark Boudreau, but I'm pretty sure that it's based on your permanent residence and your vote, where you vote. And
Right.
you may have a summer home here, but you vote in Needham. And you can't be registered to vote in 2 places.
No, I understand it's not a question of voting, it's a question of serving. Yes, it makes sense that you should be a voter in order to serve on a committee, but I just think that, we don't have a lot of contested elections. Maybe part of that is that we don't have enough people that are willing to serve, and if we broaden the pool, they obviously have skin in the game. They're paying just as much as anybody else and not getting the services for some of these things. I do think that I know that a lot of our nonprofit groups, not that they're analogous perfectly, but they do allow participation on their board of directors from taxpayer, non-full-time resident people who, maybe because of work or family had to move out for a while, and but they love their community. And so,
The district, the difference is that we're a taxing authority, we're a municipality. And, and the library board or the historical society board, those are nonprofit volunteers. So they don't have any restrictions on who can, be on their boards. I can ask Mark, but, that's the best I can
well,
do.
I just, if there's enough interest of the committee to explore that, I don't want to waste money with Mark Boudreau if we're not interested in this as something to explore. I mean, if it's just a categorical denial, then that's easy to find out. But if it's just a question of this is the way the district has set itself up as a preference.
I think what Fran said, I think Fran's last point was a brilliant point, really, in a sense, that this is a municipality in a sense, and that we're a taxing authority. So I can't imagine that anybody could serve in an office unless they were a voting taxpayer in the municipality. I can't imagine that there's anywhere where that wouldn't be true.
Well, if it's easily put to bed, I think without a lot of research, if it's just a categorical no, then that would be good to know.
You know who would be? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Fran.
I'll check with Mark. I think the question you're asking is exactly the same as, can a resident of Harwich who happens to own a house and a cottage in Hyannis be a town councillor? And clearly the answer to that would be no, because they're not a resident of a full-time resident of the town, aka, or the full-time resident of the district.
Okay, well, thanks for discussing it.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark. Great idea, though.
Article 2, district meetings and elections. The annual meeting shall be held within the district on the last Wednesday in May in each year at 7:30 p.m. Special meetings of the district shall be called by the clerk when requested in writing by a majority of the Prudential Committee, by a majority of the Board of Water Commissioners, or by a majority of the Fire Commissioners, or by petition of at least 100 qualified voters in the district, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 48, Section 66 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and as they may be from time to time amended. The clerk shall give notice of the annual meetings by publishing the same in newspaper printed within the town of Barnstable, and shall post such notice on the town of Barnstable and Katuitt Fire District websites. Said publishing and posting to be completed not less than 7 days prior to the meeting. Special district meetings shall be published in the same manner, but no less than 14 days prior to the meeting. Section 4, the warrant for the annual district meeting shall be closed at least 30 days before the date of said meeting. Articles may be inserted into any warrant for an annual meeting by petition of 10 registered voters residing within the district, and by filing said petition with the district clerk before the warrant closes. Articles of an emergency nature may be included in the warrant for a special meeting called in accordance with Section 2 of this article upon petition of 50 registered voters residing within the district. The election for district officers by ballot shall take place 1 day prior to the annual district meeting. Polls shall be open 4 to 8 p.m. Upon receipt of valid nomination papers, the clerk shall have prepared printed ballots, including absentee ballots, in accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws. Okay, on that page?
Yes.
Quick question. In a previous version, it actually said when the annual meeting was. It said that it was, one of them that I was reading said that it was, hang on just a sec, Fran. That it was the last Wednesday in May of each year. So this is an old version, but do we like, I noticed that we've changed it at some point, but I wonder, do we like saying that it's the, it's the Tuesday preceding the last Wednesday in May of each year? Do we like that? Do we think it's more specific? Do we think it's more clear?
I
think
think it's
I'm
fine the way
confused.
it is.
I thought, Fran, I thought the one you read was the last Wednesday in May.
It is, the last Wednesday of May.
Wait a minute, where does it say that? In
Section
5B?
1, Article 2, Section
Article
1.
2, Section 1.
Article 2, Section 1. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Rick. Okay, so that maybe that's how we changed it, is we took it out of Section 5 and made a Section 1. Okay, thanks, Rick.
Section 5B, nominations for district officers shall be made by filing nomination papers with the district clerk signed by at least 25 persons qualified to vote in said district. Such nomination papers must be filed for certification of signatures with the town clerk, Town of Barnstable, no later than 50 days prior to the date set for the election, and must therefore be filed by the nominee with the district clerk not later than 35 days prior to such election, or such other date as may be prescribed by the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 53, Section 10, as from time to time amended. Section 6, all committees, boards of the district shall publish notice of all meetings, special and regular, in accordance with the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law by posting on the Town of Barnstable and the district websites, by posting on any bulletin board designated by the Prudential Committee as the official place of posting. Article 3, the financial year shall begin the first day of July in each year and shall end the last day of June. Last day of the following June, of the June following. Section 2, no district notes or bonds shall be issued by the treasurer unless authorized by 2/3 majority vote of those present and voting in a regular or special meeting of the district, and all such notes or bonds shall be signed by the treasurer of the fire district and countersigned by the Prudential Committee of the district. Section 3, no money shall be paid from the treasury of the district except for the repayment of notes or bonds or other financial obligations incurred as above provided, and interest on same, without the written approval of the Prudential Committee or by a vote of the district. Moderator. The moderator shall preside at all district meetings and shall have the powers of the moderator of the town meeting and conduct all district meetings using the Handbook of Parliamentary Law entitled Town Meeting Time for Rules Governing the Procedure. Article 5, Prudential Committee. It shall be the duty of the Prudential Committee to ensure that funds raised and or borrowed by the district are expended for the purpose and set forth in the warrants and articles enacted by the district. The Prudential Committee shall receive the proposed budgets and articles of the district offices and departments proposed for the inclusion of the warrant for the annual meeting at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Prudential Committee held during the month of March in each year, and shall make recommendations thereon to the annual meeting. The Prudential Committee shall be authorized to sign on behalf of the district all contracts except water department contracts which have been approved by a vote of the district, any annual or special meeting, or any other documents which do not require specific district approval. The Prudential Committee shall be responsible for supervising the location, installation, and maintenance of streetlights within the district. Overriding consideration in determining the placement of lights shall be given to street intersections, fire hydrants, and hazardous road conditions. Any questions?
No.
Everybody staying awake?
Yep.
The Prudential Committee shall be responsible for the maintenance and operation of Freedom Hall, Katuitt and or nonprofit groups whose activities are consistent with the character of the hall and the village shall be permitted to use the building and its amenities at no charge. All of the users shall pay a reasonable fee based upon schedules that shall be established by the Prudential Committee. All fees shall be collected and returned to the general fund. Article 6, Clerk. The clerk, in addition to the duties of his or her office required by law, shall keep files of all reports, certificates, and inventories submitted to the district by any officer or committee thereof, which said records shall be opened at all reasonable times to inhabitants of the district qualified to vote in the district affairs. The clerk shall cause.
Fran.
Yes.
Do we still keep paper copies of all these things?
Do you mean certificates, reports, inventories?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part at the moment. The treasurer's office is busily working on, getting everything digital in terms of their office. But, you know, this is part of the difficulty of the records. If you want to search anything, you have records at your house, I have records at my house. You know, the clerk
Right.
has records at their house. And so we haven't got one place to consolidate all that stuff.
Do we like the last line, reasonable time to the inhabitants?
Yes,
We like inhabitants rather than district taxpayers, district residents?
no, the Freedom of Information Act covers everybody. Some guy from Timbuktu could request something.
Oh, I was just questioning the word inhabitants. I thought it was an interesting, you know, use of a word.
Yeah.
Okay,
But, well, that's fine. In reality, you know, our records are, because of the Freedom of Information Act, are open to everybody, anybody who wants them, whether they live in Katuitt or not. Section 2, the clerk shall cause to be published all annual reports of all offices and committees by the district by the end of the calendar year. Section 3, the clerk shall cause,
Fran,
yes,
hate to interrupt again, but this one has always frustrated me. We have a fiscal year, but we publish these annual reports on a calendar basis. And they're always out of date by the time they're printed. You know, it's half a fiscal year ago.
right.
And I was wondering what it would be like if we changed that to mirror the fiscal year that we run on.
Well, that's,
how would that be feasible?
when you write your report, you know, when you write your report for FY 20, that goes into the annual report that's going to be published in 21. So you're actually, the whole report's, you know, financially is a year behind. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Lisa, did I see you raise your hand?
Yeah, I'm thinking that when I submit reports for the clerk to publish, it is on the basis of the fiscal year, not the calendar year.
right.
Am I missing part of this question?
Nope, it is on the fiscal year. But we can't have a district meeting until that fiscal year has ended.
But the section 2, as far as I see, and I apologize, I'm just hosting the meeting. But as far as I can see, section 2 said that we should publish the reports at the end of the calendar year. Am I missing something?
Isn't it just saying it's due to be submitted to the clerk by the end of the calendar year?
No, it says published.
Oh, it shall be published, shall cause to be published all annual reports by the end of the calendar year, right?
So I think Rick's point is valid. Can't we just sort of coordinate all of these things to be consistent with how we report things, which is by fiscal year and not calendar year?
Well, this is just talking about being published. It's not talking about what the actual report is.
Good point. So if we publish it for the annual meeting sometime in May or June, it is published by the end of that calendar year.
Right.
I see. I'll be quiet now.
That's okay. Section 3, the clerk shall cause to be published in the annual report all salaries, overtime, bonuses, benefits, and average hours worked per week of all employees and elected officials of the district. The clerk shall make available said report upon request within 90 days of the close of the fiscal year and shall subsequently be published in the annual report of the district. The clerk shall arrange to have all annual and special meetings recorded by audiovisual and stenographic means, shall have recordings duplicated, and shall cause them to be indexed and stored. The clerk shall receive all requests for information from the public and determine whether the information requested is appropriate for release, but may seek counsel if necessary. The treasurer shall be bonded, Article 7, Section 1. Treasurer shall be bonded as required by Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 35. The premium for said bond shall be paid by the district. The treasurer shall keep regular accounts of all monies received and expended at the close of the fiscal year and at such times as the district may require. The treasurer shall submit a detailed report for each department citing receipts and expenditures by appropriation. The district treasurer shall have the authority and responsibility for making expenditures from district funds and shall keep a complete account of all monies expended by the district and submit a detailed report of those transactions immediately after the close of the fiscal year and incorporate this report into the next annual district report.
Fran, could we go back to clerk on page 6, section 5? Clerk shall determine whether the information requested is appropriate for release. What would not be appropriate under?
Executive sessions.
Oh, executive session. Okay, good example. Thank you.
The treasurer shall submit.
Unless those minutes have been approved and released.
Unless they've
Okay.
been released.
Okay,
The treasurer shall submit to the clerk all salaries, overtime paid, bonuses, benefits, average hours worked per week of all employees and elected officials of the district. This information must be received in time to be published in the annual report of the district. The treasurer shall make available a detail of this information upon request within 90 days of the close of the fiscal year, and it shall subsequently be published in the annual report of the district.
Is this section 4 redundant to section 2? I don't understand what the difference is.
I think it just repeats it. It repeats it that it's both the clerk and the treasurer's responsibility.
I may be on an old copy, but my section 2 and section 4 both. Oh, I see. Shall submit so the same thing that he has to report in section 2, he has to deliver to the clerk as well.
Right.
I gotcha. Okay. I didn't follow that at first. Thank you.
Article 8, Fire Department, Section 1. The fire commissioners, through their appointed officers, shall be responsible for the care and maintenance of the fire station property and all fire and rescue apparatus and equipment. Section 2. The Katuitt Fire District shall be responsible for fire prevention, fire inspection, the extinguishing of all fires, and the carrying out of rescue operations in the district. The Board of Fire Commissioners shall be responsible for the management and control of the fire department. They shall appoint the fire chief and other officers as required. Section 3, the fire commissioners, through their appointed officers, shall maintain a conscientious and disciplined fire department, which through a continuous training program shall provide the district with adequate roster of qualified rescue firefighter personnel. They shall also be responsible for appointed officers, fire, police, firefighters, and rescue personnel as may be necessary and consistent with the size of the department and its activities. Such appointments are made. Yeah. There should be a 2 in there, shouldn't there?
there should
Yeah.
be. Yeah,
Yep.
there should be.
To be made after consultation with the fire chief. Section 4. The fire commissioner shall review all bills and warrants against the districts contracted by their authority. They shall cause the preparation of an annual budget, recommend changes in salaries and hourly rates of pay, and cause the preparation of any other articles to be included in warrants for approval by district voters. They shall annually make a full report in writing to the district clerk concerning the department's actions, expenditures, and accomplishments and its financial status. The fire chief shall be the executive officer of the fire department. He shall be responsible for planning, directing, and administering the day-to-day activities of that organization. The fire chief shall have jurisdiction over all of the departments and personnel, and shall have authority when necessary to list aid from persons outside the department for fighting fires or for matters involving public welfare and safety. The fire chief, section 6, the fire chief shall be responsible within the Katuitt Fire District for the administration and enforcement of the laws of the town and Commonwealth relating to fire prevention, emergency medical services, and public safety, including coordination within town, regional, state, and national organizations. Section 7, should the fire chief not be available to respond to a fire or rescue or any other call, the senior officer present shall assume authority until properly relieved. Upon negotiations, section 8, union negotiations will be carried out with representation from the district consisting of 2 members of the fire commissioners and 1 member of the prudential committee. The fire commissioners and the prudential committee shall each designate by majority vote their representatives to serve as a negotiator. The fire commissioners shall establish a schedule of fees to be charged for providing emergency medical and ambulance and other services and determine billing and collection procedures. Water Department. Article 9.
Hey, Fran,
Yes,
Fran, would
Yeah.
you like me to read the rest of it for you?
yeah, that'd be fine.
It's not fair to somebody having to read all this.
Are you listening to me croak?
Well, I may croak too, but at least it'll be a different croaking. Article 9, Water Department, Section 1, the Board of Water Commissioners shall appoint the water superintendent and other staff as needed, and shall provide management and oversight of said staff in a conscientious, responsible manner. Section 2, the Water Commissioners shall prepare an annual budget, recommend salary rates and hourly rates of pay, certify all bills and warrants against the district contracted by them, prepare articles for approval by district voters, prepare an annual report in writing on the water department's actions, expenditures, financial status, and condition of the physical plant. The water commissioner shall have care, custody, management, and control of all the property, real and personal, related to the water department, shall have authority to determine and establish from time to time a schedule of water rates and make rules and regulations for the introduction and use of water. The water commissioners or their assistants may enter upon the premises of any water taker to examine apparatus to ascertain the use to which the water is applied or to find or stop any waste. They shall in all suitable ways exercise a careful supervision to protect the interest of the waterworks and the public, and shall have all other powers, duties, and responsibilities which are given to water commissioners by general laws, bylaws, and those prescribed by other acts. Section 3, the
Can I
water.
ask a question there?
Sure.
This specifies that power to the water commissioners when they say or their assistants. Does that mean any employee of the water department or just the superintendent? Do we know?
Well, we certainly know the water superintendent has that power. Whether he can delegate that to his staff, I think he does. I'll have to ask Rick to make sure.
I'm
Don't they-
just curious.
Don't they go onto people's property to install waters or change meters?
They do, and to read the meters and make sure there's any leaks. I mean, the assistants are basically anybody who's working for the department, so I think it does relate to the whole staff. I can ask Chris to make sure if you'd like clarification.
I was curious only because the way it's worded, it gives them broad power to enter somebody's premises. And that's kind of an exceptional.
It is. And you know, nobody is more polite and heads up about that than Chris. And I'm sure that
Right.
extends to his staff, but you know, they're very cognizant of calling ahead of time, knocking on doors, letting people know they're in the yard looking for leaks, whatever. But they do have that authority.
Yeah, I think that's actually part of the Mass General laws.
It's related also to, you know, public health in terms of the water supply.
Right. No, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I was just curious about how far down the chain that authority kind of goes. I know Chris is very conscientious about it, but I don't really know any of his other staff, field
I tell
staff.
you, in the 3 years that I've been there on the board, it's never been an issue. Nobody's ever called to complain that somebody was on their property and, but I
I'm just
think
won-
that I can easily clarify that and send you an email, Rick.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
It seems to me that the term assistance would be better served by employees.
I agree.
I'm not sure that we're talking about assistance. We're talking about employees of the water department.
Right. We don't have assistant water commissioners.
Yeah.
Right,
We have,
Right.
we
yeah,
have employees. I think that, you know, that might be a little housekeeping thing. If there are other things to change, I'm not sure if it warrants a whole special meeting about it.
yeah. Because think how that sentence would be better if it said the water commissioners or the water department employees may enter, or
Or
yeah,
staff.
water-
Staff, I
water
think
de-
staff probably covers
water
it.
department staff, exactly, instead of, or their assistants. Because I think that's a good point, Mark, that the commissioners don't have assistants.
The interesting thing is, as a commissioner, I'm not going in anybody's property.
No, no. In fact,
I'm
I
not-
would be,
I'm certainly
I
going
would-
to delegate that to somebody who knows what they're doing, but
right, in fact, I was gonna suggest that it says may enter upon the premises, and I was gonna suggest that we write by permission of any water taker.
no, it doesn't.
We
no,
don't want
takes-
that?
No, that
No.
takes away their power to do what
It
they
takes
need.
away their power, and you think these general laws give them the power to actually enter the premises of any water taker without permission.
They have to have that authority if they suspect some misuse which jeopardizes the quality of the water. Somebody
Okay.
has some, you know, home constructed slipshod plumbing that could potentially be backfilling contaminated water into the
That's
system
right.
and stuff. You
That's
got to
right.
be able to
So-
get to
This is
that.
actually, I think this is actually language taken from the Enabling Act of the Katuitt Fire District.
Okay,
So that's what Chapter 244 is setting up the water commission.
Yeah.
So I think this language just mimics the actual state law.
Well, I still think, I don't like it, assistance, you know, because they aren't your assistants. They aren't the water commissioner's assistants. I
right,
mean, this can be easily changed, you know, at the annual meeting. We just, you know,
right,
it's
Yeah,
not
it's
a
a
big deal.
one-line housekeeping item.
And, you know, we can just check with, you know, we have to run these by Mark Boudreau anyway, any changes. So if it's not
Right.
appropriate, he'll tell us.
right, because we could easily say, water commissioners or department or water department personnel.
How about water commissioners and employees?
Yeah.
Water department employees. Because the water commissioners don't have employees.
Water department has employees.
That's what I mean. So it would be water commissioners or water department personnel,
Employees.
water department personnel or employees, right?
Okay.
Section 3, the water superintendent shall be responsible within the Katuitt Fire District for adhering to the laws, rules, and regulations of the town of Barnstable and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts related to delivery of safe drinking water, for proper training of personnel, for coordination with other water departments and agencies as appropriate, and for planning, directing, and administering the day-to-day activities of the water department. Section 4, the extension of water main shall be under the following guidelines. Do we have to read all those?
No,
Not for me.
not for
Not
me.
for me.
Section 5, a stabilization fund is hereby established for the sole use of the water department in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, as amended 2016, to raise and appropriate the funding of the water department stabilization fund each year based on the preceding December's water department census of meters at $20 a meter, adjusted for any shortfall in collections of meter fees from the preceding year. In the first year, FY 2020, there will be no adjustment. The fund will be accounted as a separate stabilization fund by the treasurer. The water department stabilization fund is to be used to fund any properly approved lawful expenditure of the Cotuit Water Department. As per statute, any expenditure to be funded by the water department stabilization fund will require a 2/3 majority of those present and voting at a district meeting. Fines and penalties will be imposed for unauthorized taking, diverting, corrupting, or defiling of the public water supply, or upon an entity whose injures, destroys, or interferes with the public water authority's operations, construction, or maintenance, including the unauthorized willful trespass on the water authority's land or facilities. These fines and penalties will be imposed in accord with Mass General Laws, blah, blah, blah. Amendments, Article 10. Acceptance of these bylaws by a 2/3 majority vote of those present and voting shall void all previous bylaws of the Cotuit Fire District. Section 2, the bylaws may be altered or amended at the annual meeting or any other district meeting regularly called for such purpose by a 2/3 majority of those present and voting, providing an article has been included in the warrant for said meeting, fully stating the stipulations of the proposed amendments. No action taken at a district meeting shall be valid unless the subject matter thereof is contained in the warrant for such a meeting. Article 11, general sections. All elected boards and committees shall be required to hold at least one regular monthly meeting. A majority of the elected board shall constitute a quorum of each meeting. The clerk shall post all regularly scheduled meetings in accordance with general laws. I have a question there. I think there was one meeting that we postponed because we couldn't get a quorum of the three of us. I think we did miss a month. Are we technically in violation?
No, because there are times when you have 2 meetings a month.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
About an average of one a month.
yeah,
In the past 8 years, I think the fire commissioners have probably missed 2 months, maybe 3, because of complications of illness and scheduling and holidays and things like that. Ended up getting kicked into the next month. And as far as I know, none of us got arrested.
yeah.
I mean, we're not, we're not blithely dismissing meetings. I think that's fairly strict sentence though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I guess they can sue us if we don't meet. Is there any way we could give that a little more flexibility?
I don't think the district residents want you to.
I'm a district resident. It's probably a good idea to change the wording of that. I'm on a different board, and I think it's probably best just to cover the area. It's Emmy Sherman speaking. I'm just in the passenger seat of a car, so no video. Sorry.
Can I say that, could you substitute the word shall be required instead of to hold? Can you schedule?
Post, yeah. Schedule or post. I think that makes more sense.
About mandate instead of required.
But you'd still have, can you schedule at least one regular monthly meeting? You're still, at 1 month regular monthly meeting.
Yeah, we can schedule it, but if it has to be canceled because of lack of quorum or illness, whatever, last minute situation, at least it was scheduled and
Mhm.
somebody would have to show up to cancel it, I suppose.
I mean, pretty generally, if you know, this meeting was originally scheduled for a different time and then just rescheduled. Of course, we don't, actually, and we constitute a committee, but not the ones you're talking about. I mean, we can change it. I don't think there are a whole bunch of people stamping, screaming and yelling when, if we miss a month. The potential committee at sometimes has had 3 meetings in 1 month. So.
Right.
There's no harm in changing it to say shall be required to post at least 1 regular monthly meeting. Or schedule. Schedule is probably a better word.
I think scheduled is a better word.
Instead of hold?
Mhm.
If I can make a suggestion to consider, what if instead of changing that end, we shifted from required to expected?
Good idea.
Committees shall be expected to hold at least 1 regular monthly meeting.
Yeah, that's
That's
better.
a good idea.
Okay. Let's assume that will appear somewhere in the minutes that that's a change.
Yep.
In section 2, all contracts for the purpose of installation of equipment, supplies, or material on behalf of any board or committee shall be awarded and associated documentation maintained in a manner consistent with general law. All boards and departments shall prepare their annual budgets in a minimum of 4 general categories to include maintenance, labor and salaries, operating expenses, and miscellaneous, and will submit these budgets prior to the annual meeting in accordance with Article 5, Section 2 of these bylaws. Section 4, the Prudential Committee, the Board of Water Commissioners and/or Board of Fire Commissioners shall have the authority to set a sum of money from time to time to be used as a reward for information given which results in the arrest and conviction of anyone vandalizing district property, said sum not to exceed $500. Section 5, the Prudential Committee, Board of Water Commissioners, and Board of Fire Commissioners shall promulgate rules and regulations pertaining to personnel matters applicable to any permanent personnel over whom they have authority.
Mark, do the water commissioners keep a catalog of SOGs for employees?
Catalog of what?
I'm sorry, standard operating guidelines or standard
Yeah.
operating procedures.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a full employee handbook outlining duties and tasks and who reports to whom and all that stuff. That was adopted in the last 2 years.
Yeah, we recently have tried to go to a computerized catalog of all SOGs and have them periodically reviewed for timeliness and make sure to retire old ones when new ones come in. It's
Yeah.
been interesting trying to get caught up. There were still SOGs on the books from 20 years ago for things that now would be ridiculous. So it's been an interesting procedure to kind of get that modernized.
We may want to revisit it with the new security systems, maybe adding some things about that. Section 6, there shall be a standing committee for the purpose of reviewing the bylaws of the district on an annual basis and to make recommendations in the form of articles in the warrant whenever they deem changes or additions to the bylaws are appropriate. This committee shall be composed of 1 member of the Prudential Committee, 1 member of the Fire Commissioners, and 1 member from the Water Commissioners, and 2 at-large members of the district who shall be appointed on an annual basis by the moderator. Set appointments to be made each year at the time of the annual meeting or subsequent to the annual meeting should no district citizens volunteer before said meeting. The committee shall conduct meetings at least once during the fiscal year and additionally as required. All narrative annual reports of officers and committees of the district will be filed with the district clerk within 45 days of the close of the fiscal year. The Prudential Committee of the district will be notified of all newly created employee positions within any department of the district at least 30 days prior to any public notice or advertisement to fill said positions. There shall be a standing policy advisory committee. The committee shall make informal recommendations to the elected boards and committees of the Cotuit Fire District. Such recommendations may concern, but are not limited to, efficiencies in the operation of the various departments and coordination of financial planning between the various departments, including the timing of capital expenditures. The Policy Advisory Committee may also research and evaluate any potential action which might improve the quality of service provided by the fire district to its residents. This committee shall be composed of one member of the Prudential Committee, one member of the Fire Commissioners, one member of the Water Commissioners, and 2 members at large who shall be appointed by the moderator on an annual basis. Said appointments are to be made each year at the time of the annual meeting or subsequent to the annual meeting, should no district citizens volunteer before said meeting. Until the first meeting of each fiscal year, the Prudential Committee member shall serve as chairman. Upon the convening of the committee, a chairman shall be elected by the members of the committee. The Policy Advisory Committee shall be advisory in nature only. The committee shall conduct meetings at least once a year. The clerks of all committees and commissions, including any standing or ad hoc committees, shall post the minutes of each meeting as kept in accordance with Chapter 39, Section 23B of the General Laws on the district website upon approval of said minutes. The Prudential Committee, the Board of Fire Commissioners, and Board of Water Commissioners may from time to time appoint a panel of citizens of the district to act as an ad hoc committee to study and advise on subjects of interest to the district. And that's it, except for the appendix, which is a series of acts related to the district.
Okay, so, and then what I can do is take the recommended changes that we discussed and run them by Mark Boudreau. And then we can have one more meeting just to agree on the changes. And that should take care of it.
Can I ask
Please.
one question as a member of the public and somebody who sometimes has to interpret these?
Yes,
On these acts, the last page 18, for instance, number 16, there was a provision to provide health insurance to retirees, and that was adopted in 2000. Fran has, and I was trying to interpret this because of some benefit issues of retirees. Fran informed me that that was repealed in 2011. Why isn't, and it might have been repealed at the state level, which maybe then nullified it for us. But is there a way, if someone is trying to use these bylaws to work with a district system, is there a way to reflect that some of these have been repealed? Maybe that's a question for Mark. It would just be nice to have a record of what's applicable and what isn't.
I can ask him that question.
That'd be great. And there may be others that have been appealed, but I don't know about it. And if I'm trying to work on HR policy based on this, it'd be really good to have a clear statement.
So are you suggesting that for number 16, where it says health insurance to retirees, that below, where it says adopted, that it would be amended or repealed and then a date? Is that what you were saying?
I have no idea how.
I have no idea either.
I'm just saying that apparently provision 16 is, according to word of mouth from Fran, and she's a steel trap, so I believe it. Uh, But
Maybe not.
but I'm saying if Fran weren't around and I were trying to interpret it, I would never know that it had
Right.
been repealed. So if there is some way that our bylaws could have a written guideline
Okay,
about what does and doesn't exist, that would be good. It might not belong in the bylaws. I'm just curious from someone who came in and tried to figure stuff out.
yeah,
I
because,
think that's a great idea. When I look through the pages of acts of the legislature that have been adopted, there are a number of these where it says adopted, which it would be very informative right after that if it said modified on this date, repealed on
Right.
this date.
Right.
Yeah,
So you'd know which is still active or what you can skip if you're trying to research something and just go to the most recent.
exactly. Because December 31st of 2012 was when, by an act of the legislature, that health insurance was no longer offered to elected officials.
Oh, we might do a catch-all, just a phrase at the top of that appendix that says, please refer to the electronic version for the most up-to-date any modifications of these acts. You know, all of these acts are perfectly searchable now. Just you just punch in those chapter numbers and
yeah.
they should
problem-
show up on any kind of Google search. So you can get the most up-to-date thing. But I mean, I think these are sort of maybe just reference points, but they're not. You know, I think they're highlighted guides. They shouldn't be thought of as the end all, because those laws are constantly being amended, and the only way to keep up with it, and we're lucky we have it all electronically now. Used to be they have green books that they send out paper amendments every year, and you stick them in the back of the books. You have to flip back and forth, and it was crazy. So we're lucky to live in the digital world. I think if we just give a website for the state laws, that would be the way to handle it, instead of trying to manipulate each one of these acts.
So that would mean that no one can trust anything that's said here. Anything that's said here, we must know that we have to, without having a legal mind, distrust every single one of these and research whether every single one of these is still applicable. When you go to look on some of these sites, you see a lot of legal jargon. And we have a small district and we have people who are Jack and Jill of all trades. So it would be good to have it cleanly and clearly specified, just to keep things running smoothly. I understand that you can't rephrase everything, but there has to be a way to give a little bit of a check. That's just my request.
I'll ask Charlie also if he can elaborate more on these amendments. Because, you know, if, you know, it can reply, it can refer you to a specific section in a chapter, but very frequently when you get to that specific section, it's no longer there because it was
Right.
repealed at some
Right.
point.
Right.
So it's not that easy to look stuff up. So I'll see if Charlie can elaborate on this stuff anymore with what he has before we do anything else.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. Did we lose Mark?
I think so.
We did.
So, well, have a good evening. Enjoy the snow.
Thank you,
Started
Frank.
3
Thank
hours early.
Take care, everyone.
I'll accept
All
a
right,
motion
thanks.
to, I'm sorry?
No, thanks. Thanks, Fran.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks, Lisa.
Amy?